Hey there, magical experimenters. Taylor Ellwood here, and welcome to the live video for this week in which we're going to be talking about curiosity. So, you know the cliche that curiosity killed the cat. I've never really cared for that particular cliche, and I find that it really tends to, well, it's not something I care for anyway. All right, I'm a cat lover. I love cats, so if anything, though, it really exemplifies a negative perspective about being creative that I think we as magicians want to try and avoid as best as possible, because if anything, curiosity is what frees us as magicians. And so I wanted to talk about that because I was having a conversation the other day with a couple of people, and one of them, this amazing magician. I think she's well, they're both amazing magicians, but I think she's this up and coming magician. She's been practicing for a little over a year now, but she was talking about an experience where she was trying to share a system of magic that she was developing with someone who'd been practicing for years and years, and this person basically just shut her down. And I knew that experience. I've had that experience because that happened to me. I remember sharing ideas with people that had, many who had more years of practice than I did, and they just kind of dismissed my ideas and experiences and systems and whatnot out of hand because, they knew better because they'd been doing it longer. And what struck me both in the case of this situation with the person I was talking with and where she was sharing her experiences, and what struck me about my own experiences is that really the people that were trying to squash both her and I lacked curiosity. They lacked imagination. And unfortunately, this is an epidemic that is prevalent in a lot of occult circles. I mean, I've seen this all the time. And occasionally, in all fairness, I've been that person on the other side where I've been the person who's been kind of like, yeah, I know what I know, and whatever you're sharing with me, whatever. I try not to be that person. I think that 99% of the time I'm successful, but we all fail at one time or another, and I can safely say I've been that person on occasion too. And mea culpa to those people, I've been that too. I try very hard not to be that person, because the thing is the longer you do something, the more in some ways you become calcified through what you're doing. You have blinders come on because, well, you know what you know, you've done what you've done. And the antidote to that is staying curious. It's being curious. And it's really the antidote in general to life. Something that I would say is equally relevant is that you can tend to find that as people get older, there can be that same sense of calcification in their experiences of life. They know what they know. And on the one hand, I think it's wise and important to recognize the value of experience, because we do have experiences. And I can remember back when I was a teenager, kind of blowing off my mom, being like, yeah, whatever. What does she know? Well, she knew a lot. She had experiences to back that up. And if I had paid attention to some of those experiences, I might have avoided some mistakes. So I want to be very clear here that I'm not writing off the experiences that people have. Someone who's practiced magic for, say, 27 years, like I have, has valid experiences that they can share with people. And we don't want to dismiss that out of hand. But I also think it's just as equally as important that we don't dismiss out of hand the experiences of someone who's a newbie. Yeah, they may not have the experiences that I've had, but this doesn't make what they share less relevant. If anything, what someone like myself or someone else who has lots of practice should really do is take inspiration from that person's curiosity. and really learn and listen from that person, because that new perspective may end up blowing open your mind. This is one of the reasons that I, both in terms of my online presence, but also like within the community that I have, that I really try to encourage other people to share their ideas and present, their information, and that I pay close attention to what people are doing who haven't been practicing magic as long as I have, because I'm genuinely curious about what their experience is and where they're coming from, because sometimes I learn some very profound things from them. It really comes right down to, I think, not even just cultivating a sense of curiosity, but also cultivating a sense of humbleness. And it is very easy to become arrogant and full of ourselves when we think we know the answers. When we think that, you know what, yeah, I've been there, done that. I know better than you. The problem with that is that inevitably you will have your pride. Your pride will end up knocking you off your high horse, because you will end up discovering that you make mistakes and that you don't know what you thought you knew. And I say this as somebody who has gone through that experience so many times, and now takes delight in it. Yes, in the moment it may be uncomfortable, but at the same time, how liberating it is to live a life of mistakes and to be able to learn from those mistakes. I know that may seem odd to take that kind of perspective, because nobody likes to make mistakes per se, but we do make mistakes. They're inevitable. It's simply a part of life. And if we can joyfully cultivate an awareness of those mistakes and how they can teach us and how they can help us to be more flexible and open to life, then really what we're doing is we're allowing ourselves to discover so much more than we would otherwise experience. The person who thinks they know all the answers blocks out anything else, because they already know all the answers. And I see this too with people that are younger. I see this, for example, with teenagers who think they know best, because I've been that teenager. They block out the answers because they're like, yeah, I know what I know. This isn't something that's limited to young people, middle-aged people, old people, or anything along those lines. It's something that we all experience. It's a human experience, and it's something that if we can accept it as a human experience, then perhaps we can teach ourselves to learn when we're starting to calcify our thought processes, when we're starting to block things out, and instead go back to a state of open-minded curiosity. For example, one of the things that I like to do is pay close attention to how I am reacting or responding to something, so that when someone shares something and I feel myself get rigid and I'm like, yeah, I know what I already know, whatever. I said, well, wait a minute. Why am I reacting that way? What is this perspective challenging within me that's forcing me, or that's causing me to go all rigid like that and become closed-minded? And what I inevitably discover is that what is getting in my way is my own limited perspectives. I know what I know, right? But as I've come to say in the last half a year or so, challenge what you know by discovering what you can learn, right? So you challenge what you know by being curious and by recognizing your own attitudes and perspectives and how those get in the way, and then freeing yourself of them by joyfully choosing to learn and joyfully choosing to challenge what you know in favor of what you can learn. And maybe what you learn does ultimately confirm what you know. But here's the thing, you never ultimately know what you know so well as you think you know it. You know it to the extent that it blinds you from what you could learn. And this is why, by challenging it and learning and perhaps confirming, perhaps discovering otherwise, what you end up ultimately realizing is that what you know is an illusion. It can be confirmed at times, but you'll still end up challenging it anyway, ideally, because if you're challenging it, you're doing it the right way. You're discovering to your joy and satisfaction that what you know is something that continually must be challenged. And how better to challenge it than by being curious? We free ourselves by being curious. We free ourselves by asking questions, by being open to discovering what is different or what is new. I know what I know, but I also don't know what I don't know, right? And when you recognize that particular realization, then you start saying, well, if I don't know what I don't know, then perhaps I need to discover what I don't know. And that's discovered by learning. It's discovered by being open. So I would share with you, all of you, newbies and experienced magicians alike, laugh at yourselves, have fun, be open to discovery, recognize you don't know everything. I mean, and have some conversations with each other. What I enjoyed about the conversation I had the other night with the aspiring magician, is that she shared her system. And she chose to do it bravely because she had had this experience where other people were, saying, whatever. And she could have chosen not to. And I saw the moment where she kind of debated because I said, well, I would like to learn about your system. Tell me about it. And there was just this moment of debate. Like, should I really share? She took a deep breath and she did it. And congratulations to her for doing that, because how brave was she? She challenged what she knew to discover what she could learn. And she did. And so she learned something from the experience. I learned something from the experience because I got to learn about this neat, fascinating system that she's coming up with. And I asked her some questions. I shared some resources. But most importantly, I hope that I gave her the space to continue exploring and that I didn't limit her in any way in terms of that, because it's not for me to limit her. It's for me to learn from her, perhaps to inspire her, but also to honor her journey as a magician. And this is true for all of us. We have people who get caught up in power games and trying to, say, well, based on my experience, this is how magic ought to work. And any other way is not relevant. What's really happening is that we're limiting not only ourselves, but other people. And we're doing it out of a sense of ego, an attachment to our own sense of rightness. And yet, ultimately, what we're introducing is the very thing that magic does not need. We're introducing a sense of wrongness. We have to ultimately be open to letting people also make mistakes. And I come back to that point because we all make mistakes. Somebody will share a wild idea about how magic works, and maybe you do, quote unquote, know that it won't really work. But instead of quashing that person down, say, well, cool, I'd love to hear about your experiences. Give it a try and let me know what happens. And some people might say, but Taylor, isn't that dangerous to encourage it? Not at all. How best do we learn? We learn by making mistakes. Is there some danger? Is there some risk? Of course there is. But there's danger and risk when you walk out the door. There's danger and risk when you open your mouth to share something with somebody. It's part of life. So let's instead encourage each other to learn and grow instead of limiting each other. And if what they share ultimately confirms that, we were right, well, okay, great. Pat yourself on the back and then let it go. Don't hold on to it out of a false sense of pride, because that's exactly what it is. And it demeans both yourself and the person, because really what you're doing is you're judging that person and you're also judging yourself. Stay open, friends. Keep learning, keep growing. Don't limit yourself and don't limit other people. Let your curiosity free you from your own limitations. All right, that's it for this week, and stay foolish, folks, and have fun.